we're talking about your city where you currently work. So what was the name again? I don't want to butcher the name in German.
Oh, try it. Try it first.
But I have to read it. I'm going to read it correctly.
No problem.
I just have to get it. So, no, wait. Because, let's do something, all right? So if you go to ChatGPT and ask ChatGPT about you, when I had my first podcast, when I lost my podcast virginity with Hello Sailor Effects, they looked me up on GPT and read what was stated about me. And it's ridiculous because I'm some controversial figure in this world because I'm whatever. I don't know. It was just funny how ChatGPT phrased it. But so founder and builder, Chris Jupiter. Yeah. It's a phenomenal last name. It's a big planet. It's the protector of our solar system. But the name of your city is Wilhelmshaven.
Wilhelmshaven. Almost perfect.
All right.
9 out of 10.
Yeah. 9 out of 10. Thank you. So how is life serving you? How is Jupiter FX doing now in 2025?
Good. Very good, to be honest. We are a small company still. We have 5 people in the whole system, me and 4 people working for me. And since we made everything ourselves, like distribution, customer care, and whatever, we ship only direct to the customer. So the people order directly from us. So we have no shares to anyone. So it's not bad if we have like 2 bad months because the other months are very good. And right now, shops are closing, doesn't interrupt us at all. Since we're doing this for 10 years, we have a very loyal customer base. And to be honest, very good. Very good.
That's super cool. I think that's really, really important when it comes to running a business nowadays. And I am a huge fan of smaller businesses, definitely smaller pedal builders, because I mean, like I've been talking about these things on the channel where stuff is changing and there is no reason to pretend that stuff is not changing, and it's completely normal that the world evolves. Let's be real. Most guitar content out there, it's a hype parade. But this show, it's different. We get into real conversations, no scripts, just honest talk about the science of sound, the guts of gear, and how stuff actually works. You learn something. Not just what to buy, but why it matters. And we keep it fun, because nerding out on audio should be a good time. So if you're tired of fluff and ready for the good stuff, hit subscribe, give us a like, stick around. We are just getting started. And we had a phenomenal 10 years in the guitar gear industry in general, where everything boomed. It was absolutely crazy. I love the fact that I was, in a way, in a very small part, a part of it, right? Because, for me, it was a big thing when I finished finished the university and that kind of stuff. I went to GitCon as this helper, and all of a sudden you got to meet everybody who was on YouTube. Basically, I think only Rob Chapman didn't come. Like everybody was there, and it was really, really great energy because all the people were doing this kind of thing. Everybody was super interested in everything what was happening. There was really good energy, but I kind of felt like after that thing finished, there was obviously a very nice wave of stuff, and kind of culminated with COVID, I would say.
Yeah,
I think COVID was a game changer for this whole thing.
Yeah.
How did that translate to your company, and how did you feel, for example, COVID, regardless of the things, like all the stuff that happened during COVID, but how did that affect your company in particular?
Order-wise was crazy. Work-wise was not good, because we couldn't work because of multiple people in one room. And JHS did a documentary about us at the same time. And we did 400 orders in 1 week.
Wow.
Yeah, that was... If you sell something on Reverb, you get like 5 emails because congratulations, you got an email. Congratulations, the customer paid. Congratulations, you now can ship the item. Congratulations, whatever. And you wake up with 1,400 emails alone. This is a day to visit, to watch the email client alone. That was crazy. And I think those people didn't change the hobby, and there are also coming new people to the hobby as well. I think the perspective changed a lot since COVID. Everyone was at home on their phone, on their YouTubes, watching stuff. And now there are like already done with the pedalboard or whatever, but I'm still looking for stuff as well every day because it's interesting. But I think the whole perspective of the market changed, and now you can't just send a YouTuber a pedal and they review it and people will watch because they are at home and want to be entertained. Now they have to work and they go to concerts, they go traveling, whatever. So you have to switch stuff commercially wise to get to people, to whatever, Instagram or Facebook, whatever. And that is what other companies, I think, it's my personal opinion, didn't know how to set their flag. And some companies didn't do well now, I would say. Some bigger companies have like Thomann, a music store, and Andertons. They don't care about marketing anymore because other people doing that for them. I mean, smaller builders. And I see a lot of other builders complain about the market breaking in and what. I only talking about Europe. The whole America situation with the tariffs is a completely different thing, and I don't want to have an opinion about that because I'm not in there. So it would be not cool for me to talk about that. But I think,
but it's like a political thing, and you know, our industry is not the only industry affected by that kind of thing.
I mean,
and obviously there are different opinions.
We are clearly see that it sucks, and I don't want to be like, oh yeah, the market has changed and they now have to do this, and if they don't do that, they are stupid. Ha ha ha. But at the same time, their prices are like 3 times as high, so it's way difficult than just switch to a different marketing to sell pedals. Our customers from the US are basically buying nothing anymore. And our market was, till a half year, was like 80% from America. Even if they got like the minimis, and it's like a barrier, everything that is underneath 800 euros, it's tax-free. And I don't know, they maybe have like different stuff they had now than guitar pedals, what I can think. But so you have to change the market to Europe and make more commercials in Europe. And if you on that the whole time, then you're doing good. If not, then you're doing not good. And that is very difficult, and you have to understand that. And I do that the whole day, from the morning till evening. That's very stressful.
Yeah, I can totally relate to that, as we are both in sort of a, well, we're not in the same business, definitely, but YouTube business, and me being someone who started this whole thing, practically doing it. I mean, this is full-time, not really YouTube, but the academy is full-time.
Oh, you do this full-time? That's your job now?
Oh, yeah, for sure. I left my job. Thank you. I stopped doing. It's not like at the moment it is like super awesome, but it is a very small business that is growing because obviously I started recently. But I had a plan a long time ago, and I decided to leave the job that I was on, even though I had absolutely no real reason to leave that job, other than I just didn't want to do it anymore. You know.
That is the best reason to leave a job.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, definitely. Yeah, but you know, most people told me like you're completely crazy, but you know, people were asking me, so what you gonna do now? Because usually people are afraid of that kind of thing, you know.
Being happy.
Yeah, but most definitely. No, but
enjoying my time.
Yeah, I'm gonna go home. I'm gonna go home and I'm gonna play with Lego bricks. I bought a bunch of Lego bricks, and I'm gonna collect the Lego bricks with my girlfriend and my dog. And that's what I'm gonna do, because I've had enough of you and these ships and shits. You know what I mean? Like, it's engineering, doing this, 1,000 emails. In a way, the job was, I had the best possible job you can have on a cruise ship. It is the best position that I was doing, because you're an engineer, which is obviously a plus, you know, because you're not working on in the deck department, you know. And on the other hand, like, you're doing a very clean job, so you would have practically all the benefits of like, you know, you have a nice clean job because you're working with electronics. But I like to repair stuff, so I loved going down in the engine room and doing whatever. If I have to, you know, repair the echo sounder or the speed log or something, that just get my hands dirty. Because the last 2 years, the job became mostly like IT stuff, PC stuff, which is like, you know, a disaster. Now, in the end, obviously, I liked to change that whole thing. So it ended up really well. So yeah, I'm doing this whole thing now, and I find it like, it's really, really interesting. And it does require a full-time job. Now, getting back to the topic, I said that I can completely relate, and I'm interested in how do you approach social media now in 2025? Because whoever has been doing social media, for all the people who are listening to this, usually people think that you just do social media, you just post something, and it doesn't work. Maybe if somebody had posted something, tried the whole thing out, then you'd maybe realize that videos and posts don't do that well. Whether you're talking Instagram or TikTok or YouTube, it really absorbs you and makes you do it all the time and plan it out and that kind of stuff. So I would like to hear your experiences and obviously how you do it for the company.
My best approach is being yourself and try to make that work for others. I mean, it's, if you want to be entertained, if you open Instagram, and if someone tries to be something, to be funny, and it's always, people always know that. And I tried a lot of things, and a lot of things worked, but in the end, it wasn't like stuff I feel very comfy. So I thought, I just like play guitar and talk about our products. Being like now is way better than being a clown or being a loud YouTuber persona. You know, when people like speak like this, and I mean, of course, it's more entertaining and basically more rightful to do it if you want to get into social media. But I think if you're being authentic yourself, people like to watch it because it's nice to know people or see what they do. It's the reason I follow other accounts, because cool, a old man gardening and explaining what they do. I like that. And if you follow like some YouTubers, you get like the whole pay chill thing, and yeah, that's not really their opinion. And even if they being very honest, you don't really believe that because they're like a YouTube persona and they might be not telling the truth. And if you're being like really authentic yourself, nobody's questioned that, you know? Just a dude playing guitar and building pedals. Cool, I like that. Bam. Like, easy. Just do that. And other companies as well, just do that. Good quality, good audio, and being yourself. For example, I have a very hard German accent, and I don't know, but people mostly try to speak English perfect, like perfect English, and they always doesn't.
Like me.
Yeah, I mean, you have also a very strong accent, but that adds the character, and people try to cover that and trying to speak like perfect. And I thought I got a message, and sorry, and I thought it would be way cooler if I speak like Arnold Schwarzenegger, and people make a bit fun of that. But so what? A
little bit of that.
So what? It's funny.
Yeah,
it's entertaining. It's way more entertaining than trying to be perfect. You know?
Yeah, most definitely. Well, I think you brought a very important point for this whole thing, and that's the authenticity. Here come the two. Yeah. Here come the two non-English native speakers, right? But yeah, it comes back to that, because if we talk about it realistically, the reason why we listen to some bands is because they were different, because they were authentic. And I think that we have a real authenticity crisis in the world now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Everyone tries to be perfect. It's so boring. I think I listen to a lot of post-punk, and lots of post-punk comes from East Europe, and they all have like this accent. And that gives like chills to the music, because it's way cooler if they sing like that, you know? It's sometimes being not perfect is the real perfect, you know? Deep shit.
No, but most definitely. And if you look at all this stuff that we're talking about now through history, that's how stuff had worked. The only difference, I think, today is, and this is just my take on this just right now, I never really thought about it that much so I can explain it really well, but I kind of think that because of this surplus of information, or because of the amount of information that is conveyed in a very short period of time, we are making decisions that are, you know, I want to be like that, and this is what works. The industry took over some things, and it's like, all right, you have to sing like this, your guitars have to sound like that, or this is the pedal that you have to buy, and then everything is spinning because everything is so fast, where people have completely forgotten about themselves.
Yep.
And the fact that they should, you know, just be themselves and have fun. And being yourself is definitely the reason why you're here, because I have to say that so we had my first live session where you appeared. I was completely shocked that anyone came to that live session. I mean, can you imagine? Like, you know, I was thinking about the day before I was thinking about it, and I was like, somebody told me, I was with a friend, and we are all like, you know, working a lot, having a lot of struggles, and he was telling me, like, just put yourself into the most uncomfortable positions that you're afraid of. Just do the stuff that you're afraid of, right? And I was like, immediately, I take my phone and I put up a post, right? Tomorrow, like 1900, whatever, live, right? So I was like, I'm going to go live. And I never did it before, and I didn't know whether anybody's going to join. And there was like 30, 35 people for like 2 hours listening to me talk about whatever I talked about over there. And I didn't know who Chris was, because, you know, it's only written JPTR FX. I have no idea. There are so many people on YouTube with different aliases and names and that kind of stuff. And then later on, when you were like asking about the Titan, what do I think about the Titan? And that was super cool, because, you know, at some point I'm talking about the Titan. It's like, can it be that guy who actually made it? It's like, maybe I should pay attention to what I'm saying now. All right, yeah, there we go. No, but it was super cool because I saw you before. Obviously, if you've been in this world, you would. It's hard to miss you, right? You are one of the companies that is out there, right? You're not boss, but you're definitely out there.
I'm
And
loud. I'm loud in the interwebs.
yeah, that's definitely good. But I remembered specifically Henning's video from whatever one of these fairs, and I remembered the amplifier, and I was thinking, like, this is super cool because obviously the amplifier was different, and I always look at these things from a different perspective, and that's sometimes challenged over YouTube because it's like, if I tell you like that amplifier is like a Marshall, then most companies are making amplifiers that are basically copies of Marshalls, and then everybody's pretending that it's not. And at some point, since we do all these things, you figure out which amplifier is what. I can hear it, I can see it, and I can be like, all right, so they're just making a decision not to be authentic and do something that is going to work. I mean, it's completely fine if you make a product that is you're going to get the Marshall sound for whatever, in a better form, more quality, less money or whatever, but your amplifier stuck because it was different. So speaking of the amplifier, we can actually I have so many questions regarding the Titan.
Wait a second. I want to add something to that. I learned over the years, 10 years, that you can obviously doesn't invent everything new, but a good invention, people always looking for a good sound like this. I want to make my guitar sound like this band, whatever. And you develop a certain taste for a sound. And I have that too, of course. And I develop my stuff so I like it. And if people want their guitar to sound like a flamethrower, they buy a pedal from us because it's what I naturally designed without hesitate. And the amplifier is basically a Marshall, ta-da, but only the preamp. And it is basically my take of all the Marshalls I had, and we put them together and say, I like when the amp does this, but I don't like this, and I don't like whatever. Till we got like a half a Friedman BEOD Soldano high gain old school amp, and I played a real Friedman and was like, oh, it doesn't push air like the 400 watt high watt that I do. Let's combine those, and then you develop something new. You can't cook a new meal because you have to invent stuff to, I lost there, but I mean, the recipes are always, the ingredients was the word I searched for, are always the same. Yeah. You can just mix them up and, I don't invent transistors or something, or a new tube. That would be not a new thing, but I mean, it's my take on a Marshall.
But realistically, that's something that Steve Freyette said once, that a lot of people requested him, like, when are you going to make this Marshall thing? And he was like, I already did it. Yeah. My take on a Marshall is the Deliverance, I think he said. So that's my take on a Marshall, even though it's a little bit different. But yeah, I mean, of course, there is a finite amount of ways on how you can design a circuit, and everything has already been designed even before Hendrix and all that kind of stuff, which is what most people don't know, because if you take a look at some German books from 1946, 47 or whatever, you've got the designs. Or if you take any kind of book like about, especially about audio amplifiers, tube technology and stuff like that, that stuff has already been designed. And it's actually, what I find really interesting is that the guitar world is very, I'm searching for the right English word, but it's very dry when it comes to that. Stuff that has been designed is super, super simple. There's nothing impressive. And there's so many of these old circuits that you can actually explore.
Our taste developed to like that. And everything that sounds not like this or not too far from this is not good. There are no lights.
But that's also normal in a way, right? That's also normal if you, I mean, I mentioned Marshall a few times on the channel and stuff like that, but come on. I love Marshall. I love my Marshall. It is the most fun amplifier to play. The speed, the way how it responds, it makes me always happy. You know, every time I play with Marshall, I get the smile like this. It's absolutely unbelievable. I love Marshalls. But we are talking about something different. We're talking about something different. We're talking about if you are designing a certain circuit, what is your approach? What is your contribution to this whole thing?
For example, sorry, finish.
No, but it's actually, I wanted to ask that question, even though I didn't finish, but that is definitely something that I wanted to discuss in this podcast. And I would like to know your approaches. I would like to know your philosophy when it comes to designing any kind of audio gear. Even though when I look at your pedals, when I look at your website, and I went ahead and I took a look at what you have, what you're offering now. You obviously had some pedals before that are discontinued. It really looks like it's your pedal board. You just design pedals that you like, and that's it.
That's it.
That's which is ridiculously good.
Yeah. If you don't like a certain artist to paint a picture, then don't buy it. If you want this one picture or this one artist in your living room, then buy only this. There's no one doing different stuff than I want to do. There's only me in this world, and if I do my art, people like it or not, then it's not for you. All good. And if people want the big Muff that destroys everything, mega shoegaze sludge monster, then they buy a Warlow and nothing else. Because not only the sound, because of the big box that says Warlow Fuzz monstrosity, and people like that.
It's phenomenal.
Yeah,
and what I like was a little detail that what is it? It says something like only 9 volts to fuck your ears with only 9 volts, something like that.
Yeah, with 9 volt only. Yeah,
with 9 volt only. It's phenomenal, and that is actually for me somebody who obviously most of my pedals are I've done them by myself, and I never produce pedals for other people. Yes, sometimes, for sure, for some local people, but I never liked doing that for multiple reasons. One of the reasons is my character, because I just can't make 2 of the same, and I get annoyed by this, and it's not good for a business if you want to run a business like you do. But I have a lot of different circuits, and I explore these circuits, and that's why when I look at a lot of these pedals, I'm like, okay, I'm not interested. But your pedal's stuck, and your amplifier stuck because of the aesthetics, because of the different sound, and we're going to get into the sound, and I have a lot of questions about a lot of these pedals. But definitely, I wish that more companies did what you do.
You can
made the...
Thank you. Thank you. And I learned that you can't offer everything. And if you get more specialized in a certain niche, the niche will love it. That's it. And if you try to make everyone happy, no one is happy, as always. If you try to make...
everybody actually talks about that.
Yeah.
Everybody talks about...
I'm the one with the big loud fuzz pedals and amps. And we did release an EQ pedal, for example. It was a Pultec EQ. Way before other companies did that. And the Mario. And it was a flop. We sold like 50, and that in a half year, that's like basically nothing. And we even stocked them now, Nobody wants to buy a EQ pedal from the Fuzz guy. It's like if I would do like a clip-on tuner. It's like, why, or cables. It's like there's no connection to the product.
Yeah. Well, yeah, that's I guess the whole branding thing. Yeah. It's a next level of doing the company, and I'm sure that by doing this, what you're doing, I'm sure that you're making the right decisions for your business by doing that and satisfying a certain group which wants what you offer. What I'm interested in, and I would like to get into, for example, I would like to start off with the amplifier. Yeah. Because you have a certain philosophy about sound. I would like to hear your philosophy. I would like to hear your approach when it comes to designing this particular amplifier, because your amplifier is basically a huge, big, ballsy pedal platform, which is only fitting for the style of pedals that you're offering to achieve the sound that you get.
Yes.
So tell me about it. Tell me about it, because I'm interested, obviously, within the constraints that you can say about your product, but there are not a lot of secrets today, and like people tend to find out, But I would like to know everything about the Titan. Tell me how it started out, how you got the idea, everything.
Mm-hmm. Okay. We did the Ohnmacht. First, that was a Model T. And I did that with someone that was employed as a amp builder, because I can't do anything, And he builds those for us. I finished them, I test them, I do the casing work and everything, and then I ship them. This person was like getting a different job from a different company, and we say goodbye. After that, we didn't do any amps. That was very sad. And someone knocked on my door here. It was Jens Zander from Zander Amps. And Zander Amps is a company that existed for like 25 years here in northern Germany. And they're doing Marshall copies and mods for like 25 years. Yeah. And
okay.
Developed all kinds of crazy stuff. Like, I can send you pictures. You will laugh your ass off. Like, okay, how much complicated can we do an amp? Like, how many switches can this have? Oh, there's a centimeter of space. We can do a toggle in it.
Yeah, it's like a max out to the switches thing.
Yeah. And it was like pre-internet. Absolute pre-internet. If they had internet back then, like totally funky enclosures and everything by hand. They pressed the chassis by themselves. They did the woodwork, everything by themselves. And Jens, long time not working on amps, was like, I can be your amp builder. I can be your hero, baby. And then I asked him, can you build an Ohnmacht? And he was like, no, I only build my stuff. And it was like, asshole. But I like the attitude. Yeah. But I like the attitude. And he was like, let's develop something together. And we lined up every amp I own. We lined up everything he owns. And after maybe 2 or 3 weeks of lining and comparing stuff, I was like...
The best part. The absolute best part.
I was like, okay, we both like Plexis and JCM 800s. He's an AC/DC guy. I'm a Fugazi punk rock guy. JCM 800 all over. Okay.
All right.
But then we got to Musikproduktiv. That is our local store here in northern Germany. And they have a lot of amps. And I was looking for myself for a BE-OD amp. I played it, and it didn't push the air like the 2 high-watt clones I had. I had one 400 and one 200 watt amp, but they were way too clean. not beautiful clean, stiff and boring clean. So I always used pedals, and I wanted a more JCM 800 gain amp because I loved that. And they didn't push that kind of air that a big 400 watt tube amp does. And then I asked Jens if we can develop something that does that, but with the sound of a boosted Marshall. And he said, nobody wants to buy that. And I said, I would immediately get my credit card, check the plans, how I can finance that, and get 2 of those. And if I do that, other people do that too. I mean, if we do like 20 amps only a year, all good. And all good. Absolutely hand build that whole thing, all good. But 20 is enough, you know. If that would be 30 or 50 next year, all good, we can handle. But there are just 50 people buying it, and it's enough. So let's do it, you know. And he was like, no, nobody wants blah, 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 blah. And then he built it out of spare parts that we got licensed replacement parts for high watt. Oh, this way around. Like a trafo set for replacement for high watt parts, and we did the whole.
So these are basically like partridge style new.
If you have a damaged amp, you can order this one and replace it 1-to-1.
Are these transformers that you're talking about now? Are these same transformers used in the English high watts that are built today? Do you know that?
Oh, I don't know, but they are replacements for the old ones. You know?
Okay.
I don't know what they do now. I don't know. Absolutely not.
Yeah.
They changed company names and owners 100 times. I don't know. But we did that on a replacement high watt chassis. So that's why the layout is like a high watt with the Elcos in the middle and whatever. And
but the high watt chassis is actually also really, really good. I mean, for whoever has built, take a look at this. Whoever has built amplifiers before, Clean
as fuck.
It is very nice. And what I like about the high watt chassis, if you compare it to the Marshall chassis, we're talking about a chassis that it's a little bit deeper. Or if the Marshall chassis is wider, but the high watt chassis is actually a little bit deeper, which makes it's easier to make just like a cleaner layout and even shorter leads and everything. I really love.
Also, it looks cooler if you stack them. That was the reason.
Oh yeah. It's sort of they're kind of more like square.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like the whole high watts thing. I mean, I absolutely get it.
On the other hand, you can lay it more. You can lay out it more to get it quieter, basically.
Okay.
And in the end, we built it, and we both jiggled when I hit the first chord, and then we added gain stages and whatever. But the whole thing was like, okay, this is like driving an SUV or like an old school American car. This is absolutely unnecessary and stupid and whatever, but it makes fun. It's just like,
oh yeah.
I mean, everybody hates that guy that is like driving the low motorcycle in the streets, but being that guy is cool.
Yeah.
It's the same
very annoying people, by the way. Yeah. But you know, there is also a difference when somebody drives a very cool motorcycle through your street, and when somebody drives that stupid shit, you know, like a small, what are those called? Like a Vespa? You call it right?
Mofa. Vespa.
Yeah, like that's a disaster. So exactly. So if you're driving a Harley Davidson, that's cool. But if you make something that buzzes like, buzzes like crap, but 400 watts of power, that's not cool. So
it has to
I get what
good.
you're. Yeah. Yeah, I totally get where you're going. What I'm interested about the Titan, because when I looked at the amplifier, what I liked is that it looks unique. First of all, there are a lot of aluminum elements. Is it aluminum, right? Which is good for dissipating heat, obviously, which is really, really important.
It's made out of one sheet, and I bend it here, so it deflects the heat. It's you can English, but if you run it like for an hour, it's like the whole chassis is like room temperature. You know,
that's phenomenal.
Yeah, it's good.
That's absolutely phenomenal, because people sometimes don't realize if you're running these high-powered amplifiers, and if you're running them loud, they can get hot, and not all amplifiers. Oh yeah, not all amplifiers are designed well. For example, I always use that example of Fender amplifiers when they have the tubes faced downwards instead of like the standard Marshall high watt style. Heat always goes up, and Fender amplifiers tend to.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. You're cooking all right. It's not a problem, but you know, if you would buy us a Fender amplifier and run it like super, super hot like a Marshall, it's like a problem. Usually Fenders are played clean. If you have this high-powered twin, like I would have with 6L6s, if you would run it like fully distorted and biased hot, like that stuff would get like really ridiculously hot, and something can fail. Something horrendously.
After 10 years, yeah, maybe. And if they build like on a board and like staying in the heat for like 3 hours for a show over 10 years, or maybe, but the maybe is enough.
You're talking about the Titan now.
No. A Fender combo. The Titan runs on the background all day for like the last 3 months. Doesn't care.
It has ridiculously big transformers, which look really cool. So
I prepared something.
All right, there we go. This is really big, nice.
This is a normal, a bigger cup. This is the trafo.
It is a big transformer.
Yes.
So I don't know if you know, but so you said that the transformers are made by the company that does these replacement high watt transformers, right?
No, there are replacement. They are
yeah.
Poland.
Okay. So what I'm interested now, Europe, yeah. What I'm interested now is I wanted to ask some things about the sheet metal and that kind of stuff, because stuff is a little bit different. And whenever I'd make some transformers, which is not very often, but I do make transformers sometimes, it's a little bit different, the size of the transformer sheets, and what you have today, what you have on the market is a little bit different compared to the stuff before. So you kind of have to adapt. If you're making a transformer that is supposed to be like a Marshall transformer, you have to make some adaptations because the actual sheet is of a different size and everything, like different standards. But what I'm really interested about the Titan is, what kind of output transformer do you use in the Titan?
Those from the brand.
Okay, yeah.
Oh, what is the question exactly?
Yeah, I was specifically referring to, so these are high watt replacement transformers which are built to like partridge spec. All right, as an idea generally. So the Titan doesn't have any like ultra linear output stages.
Oh no, just a lot of power, just insanely a lot of power. That's why the amp is clean, because no one can distort it because it has so much headroom. There's basically you could.
Yeah,
but I never did.
But how did you go about? So you decided on KT88s, right? Yeah. And a lot of people would go about asking, is this the KT88 sound? But we're talking about an amplifier that's a little bit different. I heard you say in one of the interviews that you are running 700 volts of high tension voltage inside of the amplifier. I love the smile on your face. It is the evil smile and the laugh, that sounds like a big Muff. But yeah, I totally get that whole thing.
Yeah.
If anyone here worked on tube amplifiers, then you would know when you switch this amplifier on and when you start measuring something in that tube amplifier, even though you have like really good equipment and everything is safe and that kind of stuff, when it starts vibrating a little bit, the probes in your hand, when it starts vibrating when you touch something, your balls tingle a little bit. It's and 700 volts is a lot of tingling. So
the kiss
I love that stuff.
The kiss of death.
If you really want to level up as a musician, stop chasing tone and start understanding it. The fastest way to get an authentic sound? Build it yourself, mod it, make it yours. It's easier than you think. It saves you a ton of money, and it is way more fun than buying hyped pedals that you are never going to be satisfied with. That's why I made the Big Muff by Demystified course. It is a full pedal design deep dive made for guitarists at any level. Learn the circuit, tweak it, and walk away with something that's actually you. Head to slightlytechnicalacademy.com and get started. I had a question, but I think I know the answer, but maybe the audience would like to know. Do you have a driver stage in your amplifier? In the power amplifier?
I have to look it up. To be honest,
okay.
Let's be clear about it. I helped designing it. I didn't lay out any circuitry. I just say yes or no. Does this sound better? Yes or no. Can it have more bass? Yes or no. Does it now sound like you want? Yes or no. And Jens did all that. I can show you stuff, but I won't go in that kind of detail till I restrict myself on stuff that is maybe not true because I don't know.
Yeah.
We have, of course, we have, of course, a phase inverter. And basically, just think about a JCM 800, and you cut one preamp tube for the first channel, and you add the tube back for the second channel, and then you add a tube for the boost channel, and then you add a tube for the FX loop, and then phase inverter, preamp, power amp.
Right. So I'm sorry, but as we are getting super nerdy on this podcast, I don't even want to emphasize the nerdiness because usually what we've watched so far on YouTube is like when they mention a word such as a transistor or a diode, everybody's like, oh, we're getting so nerdy right over here. Like, hey, fuck that shit, Like, we need to talk about this stuff. The reason why I asked this is because when designing tube amplifiers, when you have such a ridiculously big power section, which is, you have to drive the signal. Sometimes the phase inverter is not enough.
Yeah. We have an extra stage to deliver that kind of power. Yeah, of course. Yeah. Then we have a driver.
That is the driver stage.
Yeah.
That's what I was asking about.
I was like, okay, I don't want to say yes to something that is in the end not right or whatever. And then I have someone on whatever forum
demystifying, and saying how you know nothing and they know better. No, but that's absolutely cool. That's why I said I sort of know the answer to the question, because to get such power, to get voltage swings like that, you would need an additional stage.
Yeah.
And maybe an additional question is, so you have this additional stage. Is it a tube stage?
Yeah, it's they share one side with the FX loop. We had a spare side of the tube left, so we added it from there.
Okay.
The Titan has 5 preamp tubes, by the way, for JSM 800.
Okay.
A lot. A lot of small stages. Making it very stable. That's
super interesting. And the fact that Marshalls, actually, for all people who don't really know this thing, but Marshalls actually have a preamp which is quite clean, unless it is boosted, right?
Yeah.
And usually, like, the typical Marshall thing is gonna get the distortion in the phase inverter and in the power amp. That's where you get the whole thing. But if you would take an output from the preamp on your Marshall, like a typical Marshall, you would realize it's like, this is not distorted. Like there's really nothing happening right here.
Yeah.
So I can only imagine, with that type of power section and that type of preamp stage, the amount of like really, really ballsy clean headroom. And I listened to the amplifier on some of your demos. It sounds like really, really good and really interesting. And I love the fact that you employed some of the things that should be employed on every amplifier. Now listen to me, every amplifier should have this. And I'm talking about those speakons.
So there is a not speakon, it's multicon. It's when you have
multicon. Yeah. Why not? The question is, why not put it? And in a way, because people don't really understand this stuff, then they feel like maybe we shouldn't put it. But I was always thinking about, all right, so what can you do to an amplifier to make it a little bit better? Because speakons are far more robust. Speakon cables are far better. And if these cabinets that we use as guitar players actually had these multicons, it would give us an option. It's like, all right, you can use this cable or you can use that cable. And if we're talking about the audiophile world, which is the only world that is crazier than the guitar world when it comes to ego trips and that kind of stuff. But that's over there. Like people pay 5,000 euros for cables.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying that this is normal. I'm not saying that you should do that, but there is definitely some difference in cables. You don't have to, spend 5,000 euros on a cable, but there is a difference between a 10 euro cable and let's say a 50 euro cable, for example,
Did you try it like speaker cables that are crossed, like wounded cross?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, I played around with this stuff, and there are different techniques. And when you get into those like really, really expensive cables,
do you have an opinion?
I don't talk.
Do you have did you try those? What was your what was your resume?
Well, I do have an opinion, but my opinion kind of correlates to everything what I say. And that is trying to be a little bit reasonable about these things. Because whatever you use, it is going to make a little bit of a difference. And that is completely normal. There are a lot of different psychoacoustical elements that influence what we hear, which people who are making these tests need to be aware of. And by no means am I saying that I do things right. And by no means am I saying that I'm immune to these psychosomatic effects where like I want to hear something sound different. But I would just say that using good cables is good.
Always.
But paying for a cable above 100 euros is, in my opinion, not needed. If you feel like that is something that you want to do and that will contribute to your sound, go for it. I mean, like, it's your money, spend it. But I feel like if there was a nice graph and a curve, I feel like that the biggest difference in cables is in the range between like a 10. I'm just saying some prices, but like 10 euro and an 80 euro cable. That's the biggest difference.
Yeah,
and absolutely. Then
that's quality. How good is it?
Exactly. Yeah. And then after that,
it's how reliable. How long will it hold? How good?
Yeah,
is,
I mean,
how good is the company that supports the products after 10 years? You pay for that too.
Absolutely. Yeah, will it exist then? Absolutely. And that's even though there are, I don't want to get into this obviously in detail, but there are differences in copper. Like there are different grades in copper, the way how you can do it. But it's like it is absolutely not needed because at some point the cable is good.
Not a guitar.
Yeah,
not a guitar.
Definitely. And for sure. But at some point, sorry.
Go ahead. Okay.
No, I just wanted to say that at some point the cable becomes a filter, and you either like it or you don't like it.
Yeah, you have to accept to be that if you want to spend. I have a very I am an audiophile guy, and I have under my turntable, a marmor plate, and a wooden plate with spike absorbers, because I think they sound different, but also they look cool. That's it.
Yeah, that makes it
That
makes it
good.
You know,
I have
that makes it good. Exactly.
I have twisted cables on my hi-fi system, and they sound different because they hum less when you play phono, because of inferences. They cancel each other out and whatever.
Yes.
And they wear like 200 each cable, but also they look good. And if I get at 14 hours sometimes back on my couch with my dog and put a vinyl on, I can look at my beautiful setup, and I know you're doing something good and rewarding yourself with something that you like a present for yourself. And if you put it that way, a 5,000 euro speaker, a guitar amp, or whatever is fine, but it's not better. But you can give yourself a present for working a lot, for having a lot of stress. I mean, the world is ugly and bad and whatever. Make yourself or your friends a good present. And if that's an expensive Vovox cable, that's cool. Good cables. You know?
No, I absolutely agree on that, and I don't want to say that I'm sorry for the people who don't understand that, but
they're lost.
Wish
they're
no, but I wish to everybody to experience that, because the way how you can experience music on a very good sound system, and when you personally invest in that particular sound system, like the stuff that you're describing now, get some cables you like, not that are expensive. Just get some cables you like.
Yeah.
Do those spikes, right? Yeah. Make it like, create your vinyl so you love it. It will reward you with a phenomenal experience that is more healing than any, injection or tablets and bullshit that you can get from the industry. I
have coaxial speakers with like comp filters, and you don't have to position them to a listening place. You can just like walk through the room and they sound in every place, they sound right. And to hear something on those speakers with an isolated room-treated subwoofer, it's the best thing ever. And a guitar amp would never do that, because when you would do that on a guitar amp, it would just sound like shit. Because a guitar signal is ugly as fuck. It's horrible, but we like the horrible when it comes to guitar.
Isn't that really interesting? Sometimes I discuss that with people. If you build an amplifier, and that's the thing, like if you are doing some kind of engineering business, and I've got a friend who's a really interesting guy, a really good engineer, and I bought my Sound City 120 of him, which is the amplifier that is going to be a huge project on the channel that I'm going to be working on, that kind of stuff. And he built a bunch of amplifiers, and he's really a good engineer, kind of laying low, like not doing any kind of internet, living in his flat, but really cool guy. And like he is a great engineer. And when engineers, I talk to about these things, like when you work as an engineer, you have a certain amount of parameters that you need to like achieve. For example, if you're building an amplifier and you're building an amplifier in the pro audio world, what you want to achieve is a certain amount of power. It needs to be reliable, so there's a lot of stuff about heat dissipation, and you want to achieve the minimal amount of distortion. But when it comes to guitar amplifiers, you're practically doing the opposite, because you're like, what is the parameter? The parameter of like what is a good amplifier is so vague and so personal and so subjective. And you're basically using all these electronics incorrectly.
Yeah.
On the edge of dying, and that's when it sounds the best. But somehow you have to design it so it works a long time. It's weird, right?
I did a small transition from the topics, since the Titan has a hi-fi stage as a power amp. It's the opposite to the preamp. And Jens, my amp builder, and I share also the hobby of being stupid with vinyl. And he's the tube guy. I'm the transistor guy. I'm the technics guy. And we did the power stage of, as I asked, let's do like 200 watts. What is possible? He was like, yeah, I know a plan for a 200 watt hi-fi amp. And if we, no, 100 watt. And if we share the stages, we can do, like, because it's mono, not stereo, we can do 4 tubes with 200. And then we added, and then we measured, and then was like, oh, it's basically 260 watts now. And there's a very funny, like, happy error. I don't know how to say it in English, like happy mistake. Since there is so much power, the volume before the power stage normally on tube amps is like 0. Then you have like nothing till like 1.5. And then you have like 1, it's cool. And then you have unusable load.
Yeah.
And if you, because of the compression and of the tube stage, blah, 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 and with the Titan, you have so much power that it doesn't compress afterwards. So you have a very linear volume range, like on a hi-fi system. You can have.
So it kind of increases.
Just volume.
Let's just say it linearly, normally to our ears.
Like a hi-fi stage. Exactly like that, not like a tube amp. And that is so brilliant. It's when people say like, oh no, it's 250 watts. I can never play at home. Hey, just put the amp on like 1 and it's home use. Absolutely. With the same sound as when it's on like.
That's cool. Really interesting. That's really interesting because it's a completely different concept of an amplifier. And if it sounds good at lower volumes, it kind of sounds the same at higher volumes.
Like
a lot of the like with a lot of amplifiers that we normally use, that we are used to using, the sound that you expect to get from that amplifier would be that amplifier cranked.
Yeah.
And today, actually, recently, I posted a video on this new speaker by Celestion, that they made this very inefficient speaker and that kind of thing. And I saw this thing a few months ago, and I thought to myself, like, what a weird industry. Well, not only that they are reusing some technology that has been a long time ago and telling us that it's something super revolutionary and that kind of stuff. Like, how long do you think that you can basically lie to people? You know what I mean? Like, how long can you use these marketing tricks and in using the people not knowing things? That's the first question. The second thing is like, fuck this engineering world in which we are supposed to make these things like inefficient, and you want to make your amplifier struggle. I feel like you want to say something.
Here's my opinion. I'm very good at marketing, but I learned that shit. Sometimes it's not the product, it's the marketing that sells. In most cases. This does not mean that you need something, but you have the urge to need something. That's how people are. Because we're always unsatisfied. And in marketing, you learn how to satisfy people. Sometimes you think about how can...
Must be good with girls, right? Does the marketing thing help?
Wait a second. Bigger companies that don't focus on customer satisfying quality, they want cells in like 4 digits, lots of cells. They invent something that is easy to build, like a computer, like there are only chipsets and a machine does them on you know, I don't know the English word, but you know what I mean.
That's something that I was that's something that I was discussing many times when I would say stuff like, about the Mesa new rectifier and stuff like that. They simplify it so they can produce it massively.
Wait a sec. Now comes my hot take. The whole digital, the whole attenuator scene, that's basically what we now want in the last 10 years. We want digital amps as light as possible, small amps. Small amps was a trend also, like 15 watt JCM 800 stuff, and now attenuator back again with speakers this time. I think, like for the digital market, a company develops something that is like one product that you buy once, and then they sell the software. And when you sell software, you don't have to employ builder, you don't have to employ service. You have a thing that you develop once and sell every time. You don't have to ship something, you don't have to build something. And it's
phenomenal. It's like my course. It's phenomenal.
That's why that's why they tell you you need this. This is the new trend, and everything else is stupid. You know what is not stupid? Having an amp for 50 years, and when it then breaks, get it repaired in half an hour, and then it works like 30 years more. And you can make money out of that. And what you can make money out of is a new update, a new VST, a new whatever. And now it's the new software of this and that. We have new pedals, but they're only digital. Douglas released 2 new pedals or 1 new pedal and was like, oh, cool, a new octaver. Let's watch that. Oh, it's glitter. I like that. Ho ho. And they tricked me. It's not a physical thing. It's a software, And that's very cheap to produce, basically nothing, in my experience. And that's a trend, and they tell you to like that, and everything else is stupid because, a big heavy tube amp is impossible to carry. I mean, when I get my groceries, I lift 10 kilos also and get them home. So where's the problem to lift an amp?
No, I mean, like, fuck off with that stuff. Hey, that is absolute bullshit, because that's a clear marketing pitch. Is like,
that's what I said.
Yes, tube amps are heavy to carry, but you know what I like to ask
I'm also
but I always like to ask the question: since when have guitar players become such sissies? It's like
hot take.
No, but let me tell you something. Like, what you just said is like, I just wanted to say to that, like, amen, because I'm going to make a reel out of it, and I'm going to put it on repeat so people hear it a few times, because you actually said a very big truth about about marketing, about the products, everything that is made. They're using this whole attenuation thing. It's a great pitch, because like, hey, you are going to get this, and it's going to be small. It's not going to be loud. You can play it at home in front of your fucking cat, right? And you're gonna be super happy, and it's going to sound like, I don't know, Eddie Van Halen or Jimmy Page. Well, it's not going to sound. That is the promise. No. That you get a good product. I mean, there are good products out there, and it doesn't really matter. Some of them are shit, absolutely shit. But what you said about serviceability, what you said about the product that you buy, and you have it for the next 50 years, and then you repair it in a half hour, and then you have it for the next 50 years. That's why I have a 68 Sound City, a 75 Marshall, 75 Fender, or whatever, because we can repair it, and it works.
But
and that's,
to be fair, they are very good products. And for example, the Tunots Captor X, I have that for recording. It's the best, I don't know, 400 euros I spent on guitar gear, because I can play all day with my loud amp here in the shop with like 3 dogs hanging here, and it's like that quiet. But I would never go on stage without heavy shaking floor. Why should I? because I like rock music, and rock music is loud and dangerous, and an attenuator is the opposite. But at home and for recording, it's a great product. But the horse is dead already. We don't need 10 new products out of it, and the rest is marketing. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. I wish that more people would think this way, that whenever you buy a product, there is a lifetime to the product. And sometimes if you are going to pay 4,000 euros for a product, make sure that the lifetime of the product is, that you get some value for the money that you pay, because unfortunately, that's why I got my Chat GPT reputation, because just a few times I said like, hey, I mean, this will break, I don't want to pay 4,500 euros for something that, it doesn't really look good. And I said that from like 10 years of experience of repairing this bullshit, because it's a pain in the ass.
Another good example would be, I got a call, I'm sorry. Can you hear me? All good?
Yeah.
Yes, okay. Another good example for this is you buy an JCM 800 for like 1,000 euros used.
Yeah.
And in 10 years, you don't want it anymore. You sell it for 1,000 used.
1,000 euros. Or even more with the inflation and that kind of
whatever,
stuff.
But it's the same ballpark. And
I have to jump in with something.
Okay.
Sorry. No, I have to jump in with something, because get this, my best friend used to be a producer, and he's not a producer anymore, but he still has some phenomenal amplifiers, and he has a studio, right? He bought his high-watt DR103 1974, the, high watt, for like 300 marks, Deutsche Mark. And and
it's like a pack of cigarettes now.
yeah. So we're not talking about an amplifier that was bought in 1970. We're talking, maybe late 90s, early 2000s or stuff like that. So it's not a long time ago. So I totally get what you're saying.
That's the only reason people buy Gibsons. Because they don't lose value. Or old school Fender. What I was explaining earlier, you get one of those amps used, you sell it for almost the same or more. And when you have like those old campers that like 15 years now, 10 years, I don't know, who wants that? Because there's already a new one and already a new one. No one wants buying an old MacBook. You want the new one. Or the one you can afford, not the oldest one. You don't, in tech stuff, you want the best one that you can afford and not the cheapest one. So they stacking. It's like producing tech garbage at the end that no one needs. It's like AliExpress, but a bit better. It's like in 10 years, no one wants to repair those campers. Because
no, but why would you even repair it? And the other thing is
done.
We're talking we're talking about a product that doesn't get any updates, and that is a huge problem with a lot of these processors and that kind of stuff. Because I don't know if I was talking about this before, but what I know, and I'm not absolutely sure about all the details, but roughly there is a way how this stuff works. Most of this stuff is produced somewhere in the East, Far East. We're talking China's, Indonesia's, wherever. And you would have a contract with that particular company, and that contract would last for a certain amount of years. After that contract has passed, that particular time has passed, they are eligible to make that same product under their own brand name and stuff like that.
Good part.
That's why.
Good take.
Yeah, that's why you actually get a lot of products on AliExpress.
Yeah.
And I recently had a guy come into my place, and he was like, "I bought this like for like 35 euros, and it sounds okay. It doesn't sound any different compared to like all this stuff." And basically, I didn't open it. I don't really care. basically, if you would open it, you would see that there are a lot of similarities. They would reuse basically the same thing. The only difference is that for the thing on AliExpress, well, you don't really have a reliable company that is going to give you updates and support regarding the product. But if you pay for a Kemper or a Quad Cortex or stuff like that, you kind of know that you would have a company that is going to give you some updates. But on the other hand, every 2 years, they're going to put up a new one. And then at some point, they're going to discontinue the old one. You will have no updates. The technology will be old and forfeit. And something that you paid for like 2,000, 2,500 euros is going to sell for 200 euros in a few years because nobody cares about it anymore.
It's like the Line 6 pod. Just imagine.
Oh, yeah.
Relying on the Line 6 pod and going like into a gear forum saying, yeah, that's my main amp. You would be laughed at. In 10 years, it's whatever Kemper is now. It's the same shit. And with a good old toot amp, basically can do nothing, one thing, it's cool, and accept that and rock and roll.
Yeah, that's definitely we are fans of tube amplifiers, and today we have a lot of different opinions on the internet. And obviously these different opinions are posted by people who allow themselves to post, which is sometimes really weird because the way how I have the way how I've grown up as a kid, I mean, we were like super safe and it was super nice, but in Serbia, if you make stupid comments, you get punished.
Hey.
No, but I mean, like, come on. We learned when we were kids, it's like, don't make stupid comments. And not only like don't make stupid comments, but it's like, who asked you? And I understand that for social media, we are encouraging people to comment on the videos because it is good for the videos.
What's on your mind?
What's on your mind, right? But on the other hand, of course, there are a lot of people who contribute with their comments. There are a lot of people who make nice and supportive comments, which we all absolutely love. But then there's the people who are like, starting some topics and arguing. Obviously, these people have some kind of problem with themselves. And but the whole point is there are a lot of opinions, and a lot of people go in the comment section to rate your channel and your video and your opinion, whatever you said. You know what I mean? Like, you make something on YouTube or Instagram, whatever, and a lot of people watch you, and then they're like, they don't know if they want to trust you.
In the end, whatever floats your boat, whatever works for you. I can think of being in a top 40 band with like 3 hours of entertainment. You don't want to have just one sound. And if you're playing like sold out shows, like 200 a year, oh good, everything has to work for someone. And some student can afford a big heavy tube amp, and some people don't hear a difference because they don't hear it, because they're not interested as we both are. It's totally fine.
And that's absolutely fine. Exactly.
But I jiggle when I make a D chord with a fuzz pedal and everything is like, that's my shit. And I need 200 watt for that.
Yeah, absolutely. So you, now that you've mentioned a fuzz pedal, one of the pedals that I want to start off with the Warlaw.
Yeah.
Because what I want to know about that pedal is everybody's saying it's a big muff. Yeah, it's kind of like muffy, but it does sound different than a big muff. Like equalizer wise, to me, I'm just like saying what I heard. Equalizer wise, it sounds like obviously you have the different switch where you can switch between the different tone circuits, which is super, super nice.
Yep.
But it doesn't really sound like a typical big muff. And I'm telling you this because, I made a bunch of big muffs now. I have a course on the big muff, and it doesn't really sound like a big muff. Is it an op-amp based or is it a transistor based?
It's an op-amp big muff. A friend of mine who sadly passed away had a rental store for music gear in Hamburg. And if you had a studio session or a concert in Hamburg, then you can rent a Fender Twin. If you from America or whatever, or you need 3 pedals and a Fender Rhodes, then you can rent it there. He had everything. And I was like, okay, I want to develop a big Muff. Christian, can you send me everything I need to know? And there was a package about 15 big Muffs. Everything, the Civil War, first stuff. Lots of low serial number. It was a package for like 3,000 euros and worth, because he's a lovely guy, or was a lovely guy, and I had all the time to compare and develop an opinion what I like, and I just do the shit I like. I don't do a green bubble front big muff because all the Doom guys do that, and then they write Doom muff on it and put like add an extra gain stage on it and say it's now developed. It's what most people do. I mean, again, if it floats your boat, if it works, congratulations, are good. No? But I wouldn't do that. And I found out that, of course, I'm a big sludge and grunge and alternative rock guy. So open big muff, it was to that in the 90s, basically the cheapest muff you can buy because everyone hated it. And I liked it because it's a bit different. It's more static. It's a bit more ugly. It's not like gooey like the green ones or the Civil War ones. Most Doom guys more the gooey dark muffs. And then they complain about no attack or they can't hear himself, whatever. But with the op amp, it's like a rat. It's more like static. Mm-hmm. It's more like, and we did a few things that I don't want to talk about it, as you understand.
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
But first thing is the filter is way too big on a big muff. The range is way too not useful. Like, who needs only bass or only Bs? Why? So we made it narrow. Yeah. And then
that's super cool.
Yeah, and then the original big muff op amp has a little switch for like deactivating, bypassing the tone stack, and that is way too loud. And if you bypass just one leg of the tone filter, you have just the high cut, and the bass cut is like inactive. So you have basically a rat filter.
Yeah, that's super nice thing that people can do with one switch for the DIYers out there. Like, you can do so many cool things with
We had a toggle between A and B, and then I mistakenly built an on switch, a 3-way, and it in the middle position it blends both phase canceled each other, and that sounds super cool.
Yeah,
because it's rerouting whatever, I don't know, and that sounds awesome. And then we added a bass parallel clean blend, so you have a volume separate for a whole clean path that you can also boost. And then it has like 2 switches for high cut to have like just lows, and then the rest from the big muff, like a subwoofer effect for guitar, or a full clean path for the bassists, and then a bass boost of 16 dB. That's a lot.
That's a lot of dBs.
Yeah, and that's how we develop stuff, basically. Make it as ugly as possible and then as useful as possible in that controlled ugliness, you know? Make it painfully distorted and then make it sound good. You know?
That's absolutely phenomenal. The first time I heard your the Warlow actually on one of the videos, I was like, this sounds different. I don't have a pedal like this one, and I have a bunch of big muffs, and I built a bunch of big muffs, and the big muff is a pedal which there were so many revisions and versions, so many takes, and each and every one of them is unique in its own way. And it's super cool because the weird part about it is that there are so many shades of this ugliness that you are just discussing, which I don't think that a lot of bands, a lot of musicians, and a lot of people explore enough. There is so much to explore in that range other than, just going for a tube screamer and wanting to sound a Stevie Ray Vaughan and not sounding like Stevie Ray Vaughan, by the way. But there are so many details about this distortion. When I heard the Warlaw, I was like, I don't have a pedal like this one. I need to have one, because it sounds different. I love it.
I sent you one. What I always like in pedals, I play always in drop C and loud and bassy, and I want no flubbiness in the bass, but strong bass, but no. I don't like that. No. But I don't also like a big high bass cut, like all the modern metal players, like da 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 da. When you have no bass because you want to play super fast, and it's like super percussive. I don't like that at all. But you have to find the middle. So you cut a certain bass and then you boost it. And this is what we do in the Wallow. And also I very like transparency at high gain volumes, high gain ranges. And this is a very difficult topic to find the right spot where it's like insanely gain, but also not transparency like clown for the people that watch. I mean with transparency, like you play a big shoegaze chord like those, and you play it with like a fuzz pedal, like a fuzz face. It would be one note, like, because the speaker and amp glues it all together, and then you have just like hitting a distorted piano. What I like is
there's basically a lot of information for
too much. And I like when it rings out and you hear the bass first because you hit the deep strings first, and then you hear like a transition to the highs in the sound. That's transparency for me. If you like hit 6 strings, then you hear 6 strings, but heavily distorted. And if they do that, it's good. And that's my taste.
Right. That's phenomenal because, So I love that because you are describing your philosophy, what you're listening to, what you're listening for, and the way how you design the pedals. And obviously, since you've been doing this for like, what is it now, 10 years? Was it 10 years?
As a company, I do it like I was 14. I always was the kid that repairing stuff. Oh, cool. Can I have it for free? Yeah, cool. But it's broken. I don't mind.
Yeah,
that was my
business ever. Like
that was my life always.
Yeah.
It does not work, but it looks cool.
Oh yeah, for sure. I mean, I did a lot of that, and I made so many free things work.
We are like
it is. Yeah. So the Warlaw is absolutely something special, and I can imagine that a lot of people would find themselves like really, really happy with such a product. But the pedal that I liked the most from the ones that are available from you at the moment is what is called the weirdo, the weird fuzz,
the super weirdo
one. The super weirdo.
Wait a sec. The super weirdo. Glitch super fast time modulator unit.
There we go, the super weirdo.
The super weirdo. And since I have like a 2-channel interface, I do now something. Whoopsala. Please hold the line.
No, we are holding the line.
Wait a sec. This is a bad example because I was like explaining further how I look and sound like super transparent.
And now we're gonna do this.
Yeah, the super weirdo sound.
yeah. I love.
Do you hear that? I can't hear what I'm
It, yeah, it's ridiculous.
I mean, that's a show effect. If you end a set, you end a set like that, and for that you want that pedal. Enough. You hear that and think, oh yeah, that's my jam. I want that.
Yeah, but rarely you find a pedal like that one where you're like, I want that instantly. You know, where you have like, okay, this is different because you can have a bunch of big muffs, a bunch of tube screamers, and a bunch of Marshalls and that kind of stuff. But this does something different, and we're talking about something that's extremely fuzzed out, but then it has this time modulation which is implemented with the whole thing that makes everything like feedback and super weird.
Yeah.
It is super really like really interesting, and this is the kind of stuff, you know, I wish like people were doing more of this stuff, but they don't have to do it. We're gonna do it, right?
That was the second wave of pedal builders, as I call them, like Dwarfcraft Audio, Devi Ever. That was like 2010, like this. Before everyone was building the third wave, building pedals, like me or whatever. There were a lot of crazy fuzz pedals, like Z-Vex. All this American crazy builder people. There were a lot of people doing noisy fuzz pedals, and now they all do digital super reverbs, like a reverb that is this big, has a display and like 400 algorithms, and ChatGPT makes you says nice words to you every time you hook it up. I don't know.
Yeah, that's a little bit different, but what you were just saying, you're talking about an era, if I understood you correctly. That would be the era of like, 2000s to 2010, where you had a bunch of these super cool pedals. And that was also a very good era for DIYers because all of a sudden you had the internet, you had the forums, it's like pre-YouTube time. And it is sort of weird that some people completely missed this part of the pedal world life.
I love pedals out of that era because they are like a standard Hammond enclosure and a sticker on it with like white back. It's like out of their printer, basically, written with Sharpie, like Danger Super Ugly Master Fuzz 3000, and you could not get it. And there was no chance to get it in Europe, you know? And that era made me try stuff like get a fuzz face kit. And I read on some forum, if you change the half E from this transistor to this one, you get like 10 times this gain. 10 times always sounds better to me. And that's how I developed technical abilities in try and error on fuzz pedals. I mean, it's 9 volt. You can't damage yourself. So just try it.
Yeah.
Input filter. How much bass can it handle? Does it sound good? Yes or no? Made myself lots of sheets. Like when I do this, like if I do one of those diodes this way and 2 of those this way, people say that it sounds like this. I think it sounds like this. If I do 1 LED instead of 2, I think it sounds better because of this. And I made a lot of comparisons in that time to develop an opinion. So now I know if I hear a big muff, I would say, oh, germanium diodes, absolutely nothing for me. If I would do a red, I would say, oh, you know what's that pedal missing? Germanium diodes. And I make myself a shorter way to find my results with that.
Yeah, that's actually something that's I absolutely agree on that, and that is something that I have been pushing out whenever I discuss these things, and that's why I started doing the academy and teaching people this stuff, because eventually you can develop your ear so you recognize these things. Obviously, you spend countless hours trying these things, and you developed an opinion of like, this is what works, this is what doesn't, because you can be an engineer 55 times. It doesn't make any sense if you don't try and make these fuzz pedals and have a good time doing that.
Yeah, people forget how important it is to have an own taste, because everyone tries to be perfect, like in Instagram and whatever. They only want to play perfect guitar and nothing else. So they don't want to play in front of other people anymore, and they don't show this because they're not good as, or they don't do their hobbies as much because they're not good as other people. And so the whole DIY thing goes smaller and smaller because people are afraid to showing what makes them unique, what is way more important than being perfect. You know?
Yeah, we did start. Yeah.
Of course, when you build something, it has to be perfectly built. That is something totally different. I mean, sometimes, the coolest people are always the weird ones. Always. I mean, if you can hang with them, okay, cool. If not, you're not. But they're always more interesting than the perfect ones. Or perfect ones are nice to look at, and that's it. You know?
Yeah. No, I absolutely. It's like we are having this discussion, and we are in absolute agreement about these things. And it's really interesting that it kind of died off. And that is, I mean, I don't think it's even like we can talk about so many other different interesting things and wasting our time just discussing, oh, like the industry is like this, the industry is like that. The point is, it's an industry. It became an industry, and it became sales, as you already said, and that
always was.
That kind of it always was. But there were certain like golden eras, like the one you just mentioned, when you had these people building pedals, when you had like actual boutique companies sharing stuff, not the boutique companies sharing stuff. I wanted to say, like, you had boutique companies making a little bit different pedals, and then people would share stuff, do DIY stuff. And then at some point, it seems that everybody forgot about these things. And somebody comes out in 2023 or 4 or this year, hey, we've got this pedal and that. It's a fucking Timmy, okay? Timmy. It's a Timmy. We don't care about the new Timmy. We already had this. And if you have enough balls to Google stuff out, or even ask now these GPTs, it's going to lay out all these, facts and information and schematics. It's like everything has already been built, and they're just reusing this stuff and telling you that it's something different.
Okay. I have a very good hot take. And after that, we go back to the questions you had.
Do it.
An Analog Man 400 euro King of Tone pedal is worth the money. Why? Because someone sits there and selects the parts that they think sounds right.
I agree immediately.
You don't pay for the material, you don't pay for the paint shop, whatever, but you pay for the experience of that old guy knowing exactly how shit sounds like. If you put, you can't sound bad with that pedal. That's why you spend 400 euros.
I agree.
If they get a bad charge of screws for their cases, they throw them away because they're not good enough. They don't explain that to people. I know that they do that because they only want everything perfect in their opinion, what is perfect. And that's why you wait 4 years.
Yeah. I don't even think that this is a hot take, I think this is only...
It's a hot take because people are like, there's 20 euros max in this pedal as in materials. Yeah, okay, then build your own pedal and start a company. Oh, why don't you invent 10 pedals at one time? Because it's so easy. I thought it would be so easy to run a company. That's why a lot of companies now comes the hot take. That's why a lot of companies don't build stuff anymore after like 2 or 3 years, because they get to learn how different it is to run a company, not just develop a product, because they are super skilled technical people, and then they learn, oh, I have to sell those to make a living. Oh, no, our customer is mad because whatever happened. Oh, I have to figure out to make it happy again. And you don't learn that as a technician on the tech school. And that's why a lot of people don't do pedals anymore. Ta-da! In my opinion.
Yeah, I mean, I can imagine it's a very stressful business.
Yeah, it is.
Because yeah, I can imagine it's a very stressful business, especially nowadays in this weird era with a lot of these weird opinions. A lot of people are bombarded with a lot of negative energy at the moment.
Ugh.
And yeah, it is kind of weird, but I would say that people feed on bad energy at the moment on all levels, not only in the guitar industry. It is just,
they forget
it is what it.
People forget what makes them happy.
Yeah,
it's so easy to hate. You have to.
It's much easier than to be happy.
Yeah, it's basically that. The dark side is always be easier. You just have to be angry. But to become a Jedi. Back to the questions, man.
Back to the questions. Yeah. So first you have to be a Padawan for like 20 years, and then when you learn how to build pedals well and how to do it like really good, then you end up starting a company, and then you make a pedal cost 400 euros. Then people complain, and then come the two of us saying that it's a hot take to say that these pedals are worth it. I just wanted to say, in contribution to that topic, that it is definitely worth it. What people don't understand is that some pedals, especially some designs of pedals, are really hard to replicate in terms of like you cannot put it in some, like, manufacture it in China so it sounds all that good. Yeah, there are some designs that can be like okay, but we're talking about somebody who's
selecting
essentially
each
quality
resistor.
control. Yeah, essentially quality control.
Yeah.
And that's what I tell people, sometimes, especially here. So in Serbia, there are some people who build pedals, and especially in the last years, they would build pedals, and these pedals would essentially be cheaper than the pedals that you would buy, like, for example, your pedals or any pedal that you would buy in the store. But we don't really have like small builders because this is a very small market. Nobody sells pedals here. You can obviously buy like all the stuff like, Fender, whatever, Boss, and, that kind of stuff. But realistically, you don't have anything interesting. And people started building pedals, and they would build pedals for like very cheap. And those pedals, there are some people who build some like really cool stuff, but most of these pedals are just built by people who would just copy the schematic. So that is that's where we all start. All right. So copying the schematic and soldering the components, that is one thing. You're not paying for that. When you buy an analog man pedal, or for that matter, a JPTR FX pedal, you are paying for years of experience in soldering and all that kind of stuff, where somebody hand selects this stuff and makes sure that it sounds exactly the way it's supposed to sound. And that is the quality control, and that is the time that you actually pay for. That is the most expensive part of the process.
Yeah. I always say you don't have to stack our pedals. When people say, can you add a boost to that circuit? You don't need a boost. There's a spectrum of taste, and I'm the hot chip. Those hot chips were like a million Scoville, where you die when you eat it. I'm that of pedals, and if you don't like that, then it's not for you. Some people like red wine, some people like beer. it is how it is.
Oh yeah, definitely.
And some
definitely.
people want to spend 400 euros on a very, very, very good overdrive pedal, then let them do.
Oh yeah, for sure. Especially if it comes from some builders who actually design something with something different, something interesting.
Yeah.
I kind of had some of my hot takes on some of the companies, because there were some circuits where it's like you're just copying this shit, and the marketing pitch is like you're using like Mogami wires inside, or you're using something super, like that's the wrong marketing pitch. That's just what I'm saying. Like, build something original that nobody has.
Yeah.
So you cannot get the Warlaw. You just can't get it other than from JPTR FX, right? You can't go. I mean, you get what I'm saying. It's original and it's aesthetics and it's
pedal.
sound.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So that's what you're paying for. You're paying for a JPTR pedal. Now, speaking of JPTR pedals, there is yet another one that I would like to know about, which is super interesting, and that is the Fenvi. Is that the right way to pronounce it?
I like funny names. With German, you always have a play of words when one word has different meanings, and if you say it in the context of this sentence, it means this, and whatever. That's a German way of speaking. And that's I very like naming stuff also in German, and so over the 10 years, I heard basically every pronunciation of Fenvi,
Fenvi,
and the Fenvi is basically two delays stacked into each other with a FX loop between those delays. Right now, we had that's like the 8 version of the pedal. It has an A/B switch where you can toggle between 2 time pots, like basically presets, but analog. So you have like for example, a short delay that you can set, like slapback, or like double tracking, like very short. And you don't want that anymore, then you can press one button and then you have a delay, like a basic delay. And then you can put that also in the second delay. And then you have a pattern effect, like a tape echo can do like a certain rhythm with the repeats, because it's like
yep.
And with the time between those repeats, you can basically do patterns or 8 notes or octave jumps. As you know, when you turn the delay time, it makes like a higher noise. And if you toggle between A/B those settings, you can do like brum brum bring brum brum ding ding dum. You can set that up for like octave jumps.
Yeah, that's a very creative way of using it, and it's also a very creative way of employing the circuit. Now, what is the maximum delay time on this pedal?
Shorter than the chip can. The chip can, let me think, I believe 390 or 380, and we do 350. We do a bit shorter because when the chip does the maximum length of reverb, it gets more noise in all settings. So we shorten it before the pot, so it makes less noise than a PT2399 chip. Oh.
Yeah, that is sort of the typical chip.
It's kind of noisy, and you can regulate that. If you shorten the time, the shorter the time gets, the less memory it needs. The less memory it needs, it sounds cleaner. So we shorten it a bit, and have that range in common. Nobody needs a 1 or 2 second delay, not in that kind of sound. With a digital,
absolutely,
maybe, I don't know, but not in that. We want a tape-ish, dark, gluey sound that you always. We don't use a tap tempo also, because fuck tap tempo. It's an always on. It's designed to be always on, like space magic background sexiness to your guitar. you know?
Yeah, it's a ridiculously good philosophy, and I loved it. I also looked up a video regarding that, and yeah, that particular chip has its limitations, but it allows for a very nice circuit to be made, and it always sounds kind of lo-fi, which is what you want for guitar. And it's an interesting thing because if you get like too deep into the engineering of that particular chip in the way how it can be used, there are different ways how you can kind of increase that delay time. But when you increase the delay time, obviously you get these weird artifacts which don't sound really good, or if they potentially can sound good if you really like the lo-fi thing. It kind of gets more and more and more lo-fi the more time you have. But there have been some people. Sorry,
I interrupted you. I have to say sorry.
No, I was talking about, so I have a pedal right over here. So since I don't have time to, there's the camera, right? It's called mod delay. So it's just modulated delay, which I made based on an Aeon FX PCB, which is something that really, I also talk about it in the course for somebody who's doing DIY stuff. I don't really have time to design PCBs for one build, having like a bunch of different pedals, right? I just want to build one of them. And these PCBs that you can buy for like 10, 12 bucks, like save you a lot of time, but I don't build it according to the... according to the documentation that is supplied, I build my own circuit. I just use the PCB, which is something that I actually talk about.
Yeah.
Exactly. It's something that I talk about in the course about the Big Muff, where, the point is that you need to make the circuit sound the way you want to sound. And then you can use that PCB and just put the components you want in there, and you're going to make a really clean build that is going to work so well. It's going to be robust and reliable, much better than Vero boards and that kind of stuff, which I obviously started off with like everybody.
Okay.
But I made that pedal, and I recently had, since that is a clone of the Mad Professor, which uses the same chip, and I tried the Mad Professor and I sort of did an A/B test. And I don't honestly remember what I did to this one, but I kind of like the Mad Professor better, and not because it sounds I'm talking about the deep blue delay for everybody who is like.
I just looked it up. Yeah.
Yeah, the deep blue delay. It is from the era that you were talking about, like the era of like really good pedals. But it is quite interesting that the pedal that I made for some people would be better because it kind of sounds a little bit more, a little bit more hi-fi, but I don't like it. When I had this Mad Professor, and I don't know, maybe it's the caps that he used or something. And I was like, man, I tried swapping the chips and stuff, to basically darken it, to make it a little bit more mellow in the repeats. Yeah.
Okay, two things. It runs with the TL72. And if
original one, yes.
Yeah, if you change that, you get a lot of different results. Then
yes,
the delay chip itself, there are very bad ones, very good ones, but it's hard to get the bad ones nowadays. The bad ones are those you get on eBay, Amazon, AliExpress, whatever.
Yeah,
but they're good ones, and the good ones sound very good. There are digital clipping, there's noise in the back, and if you, for example, get some Bull Brown chips, like those 10 euro hi-fi op amps, get one of those for your products, sounds completely different. Good hi-fi, not bad hi-fi.
Yeah.
And also, filtering is the key. In some points, you need to filter out way more than you think, because you're adding also in a delay, a gain stage, what means more harmonics, what means more overtones, what means more highs. You get them back later. So you can cut the highs in the delay stage, the stage that does the delay, and cut all the ugly, not good ugly, bad ugly frequencies out with that, and add harmonics later. That's how we do that in the Fenvi.
Yeah, that's actually I since you mentioned some of these things, I definitely played. Originally, it comes with the TL072. Obviously, I tried a bunch of different other chips, and you get different results. But I would say that for that circuit, I kind of like the TL072 best. But even the TL072s are not the same. Sometimes depending on the batch, So, and the problem was that the original one was gooped. So you can't really see, unless you want to ruin it. But definitely, yes, I tried the Chinese-made PTs. I also tried, now I use the better one. It definitely sounds better. But it's a very interesting circuit, and I can't wait until I get some time to actually play around a little bit more. But I'll tell you one pedal that sounds pretty good. I was gifted this by Robert Keeley.
Wow.
Got his signature on the back. And Caverns is really interesting because it is also based on a PT. And
really?
It's
yeah. I thought it was a F41, a digital chip.
No.
Oh, wow. Something I didn't know.
I looked it up. Yeah, I looked it up. It's based on a PT, and also I don't. Please forgive me. I forgot because it's not like I take other pedals and I draw schematics of them. I don't care. Sometimes I look it up if I have to open it. But yeah, it was the delay part is PT, but it also has another part which is for the reverb. The way how it's routed, it's a little bit different. But what I wanted to say is that the delay sounds really good.
Yeah.
Like it sounds really, really good. That pedal is interesting. It is musical. It is great. It also has this interesting reverb, a really good shimmer that is done by a different part of the circuit. But the delay in that particular circuit is really good.
Yeah, musical. As you said, musical. Nowadays, cheap pedals.
Musical.
That's our keyword here. Nowadays, pedals are made super cheap and don't designed to be musical in mind. They just collect the components and see how cheap can they build them, and that's how they sell them for like $50 of AliExpress. They are not musical. They're just built by people that have no interest in pedals or music in general. They just go to their work and sit on their bench. Like,
the truth is, tone chases don't end until you understand what's actually happening in your signal. If your sound feels off, inconsistent, or just not you, probably it's not your gear, it's your understanding of it. That's exactly why I created the Slightly Technical Academy. We teach real audio electronics, perception, gear design, starting with the Big Muff Pi. You learn how to build, mod, and shape your tone from the inside out. And the best part, you can register for free and grab some killer ToneX packs and access the tech pages. So go to slightlytechnicalacademy.com and get started. I understand that you have a few more pedals that are available. There is not a lot of pedals, so we're talking about how many? 5, 6 pedals that you have available?
6 pedals. We had normally 10, but our waiting times get way too long, and because lots of people ordering, we're only 4 people. And so we shortened the range to build bigger batches. Yeah. And now we're getting faster. We're not fast, but we're getting faster from month to month. Yeah. That's
absolutely great. What I was also interested is, I want to hear your philosophy on components. What kind of components do you use for your pedals? And I'm talking, like, do you prefer using some of... I understand that you're not using NOS components and stuff like that, which is a different philosophy, and it's great for people who like to use, like, NOS stuff and carbon composition resistors and that kind of stuff. I would like to hear your philosophy on the components.
Okay, components, the best one you can get as not the cheapest, but the most reasonable price. Not cheap. Cheap is never good, except cheap is never good if you want to sell something, because why buy cheap? If in a boutique range, yeah, of course. But you can get the most expensive parts, but then you have only the people complaining about, I can't hear a difference. Of course, I can hear a difference and whatever. And for the stuff we build, we need parts that do less noise because we have a lot of gain. Parts that are not microphonic because a lot of gain, a lot of volume. Parts that you can hit with a hammer because people wear Doc Martens and drink 10 beers and go on stage, you know? And if a resistor is from a different company, that doesn't matter to me at all, as long they don't do hiss, they don't do bad stuff. And if you do a fuzz face with a replica parts, whatever, then you have a completely different view of that topic. But in my case, I want to add a lot of gain stages with less noise as possible. That's why we use SMD for the pedals, of course. Yeah.
Okay.
And we select chips because they're, as I mentioned, bad ones, good ones. For the bleach that has a chorus, an analog chorus, you have to select the chip because out of 100 chips, there are at least 3 bad ones that we still get. Even when we have the good source, there are still bad ones. And for those, we have like trimmers on the board to set them up for the voltage, to the right voltage, so I can select every one to ear, where I think they biased the right way. And that is important for me with components. For amps, we use the best stuff we can get without going crazy stupid, you know?
Yeah, okay. There's unreasonable stuff, definitely, which you can do if you like to spend money on that. But if you are,
it doesn't make the sound better. It looks better, maybe, or it's like, but no one wants to buy an amp for 8,000 euros, and also I don't want to sell an amp for 8,000 euros.
Do you think? Do you think that sockets make a difference? Hot take.
Who said? Never heard that. Maybe in the building process. But the only difference, I don't know. Did you stack chips? Did you try stacking chips, like putting 2 op amps back to back? That makes a difference. Don't believe that 2 millimeters of material can change it. Maybe in an amp, yes. Maybe in an amp with high power and whatever, maybe can be longer distance to travel for whatever, maybe, but not in a pedal. Not in a distortion pedal. What do you want to achieve? 1% less or more distortion? There are knobs to set that up already.
But how you don't understand the fact that there are some gold-plated pins, all right, on some of these sockets, and then you have the sockets without gold-plated pins. Now, listen, wait, you don't even have to talk about that. What I just want to tell...
Technically, that's better. If you hear that, then good for you.
No, I actually never bothered, but there is the philosophy, and whenever you go to these websites, you want to buy something, then you have the gold-plated pins, and then you have the non-gold-plated pins, which is, yet again, super fine for you. If I would have to say something to contribute to this topic, like something realistically, I would say that it makes a bigger difference when you change different sockets for tubes. In the hi-fi world, you would have like these, I don't even know if it's because of the gold plating, but there are definitely different tube sockets that are made of different materials. Therefore, yeah. And I would say that in that kind of thing, that would make a bigger difference. But with the small components in the sockets for this, it's a mechanical thing. If you buy the Chinese ones, they kind of they're not really good, you know. So you want to get good ones. With trouble to work with.
And for pedals, it has to be solid and good working because it's a product that you hit with your feet, you know. And in an amp,
absolutely,
in an amp, everything matters. Everything matters. If we put 2 cables next to each other, or not next to each other, it starts to hum. If you put
that matters a lot.
If you put it like this way around, it doesn't hum. If you put it this way around, it hums.
Yeah,
the whole Titan,
that's absolutely.
The whole Titan is PCP, point to point.
Yeah.
So we mix a few things in there. We have, there's no SMD in the Titan, of course. There are circuit boards in the Titan for the bias and the power supply, because it's better, because less noise and better whatever.
Yeah.
But sound materials, the sound parts, are point to point to avoid any further cable length, because more cable length in the amp makes the amp weaker. Not the one cable, but the 101 cables of that length do that.
It kind of accumulates or stacks.
So we solder every part, the resistor, to the socket of the amp, of the tube socket, for example. Then it goes to a board, like a turret board that we build ourselves. It's basically a turret board without turrets. We use the holes. Where's the camera? The holes, like a PCB, but there's no circuitry in it. It's just like this to this, this to this. It's like a turret board without the turrets, because a turret is also 1 centimeter or 2. So it's 1 centimeter or 2, 1 centimeter and back. So you have like a short cable again. And with this,
absolutely,
you have nothing.
It looks really good. It is a great solution.
Yeah.
It is something that I'm gonna look into with one of my next builds. Sometimes it's easier to use a turret, but this is a phenomenal solution. Definitely in amplifiers, all these cable lengths, everything matters. The way how you lay out things, and also because I purposely asked the whole thing about SMD components in pedals, because a lot of people are like, but it doesn't have the mojo if it's SMD. Well, here's the thing.
That's right. It doesn't have the mojo. If you look at it, it doesn't look as cool. It's okay. It's the mojo. If you want that, if you want to call that mojo, okay, good. You have a point.
Yeah, but realistically, SMD components are many things in the SMD world are better and more consistently manufactured nowadays. And also you can make it even tighter and a better layout on a pedal, which will contribute to the actual mojo. And the actual mojo is like less noise and better, working better. So it's super interesting, everything what you do. I really like it. Since we've been talking for quite a long time, the last thing that I would like to end up with a little bit hotter takes, just to rattle the people a little bit. I would like to ask you, what has your relationship been with the YouTube world in general when it comes to sending over pedals to for reviews? Because this world has been weird in the last period. There has been a lot of bad energy in the comments. A lot of YouTubers are trying to justify what they are doing, saying that they are, honest and that kind of thing. What has been your relationship as a small company, as a small builder? Is there anything that you would like to say that has changed from the previous period and what happens today?
I have to be careful what I say. Because
we don't have to name names. But
because
I know it's
because there are definitely bad ones out there. If you talk about prices, they ask, what should I say? It's basically what people say about them. It's true.
Yeah,
doesn't mean 60 cycle hum is one of them. Absolutely not. Doesn't mean Kyle Bull is one of them. Absolutely not. We are all artists to get that out first. We are all artists. We all have to survive. We all have to live. We are all musicians, and they choose this way. I choose this way. You choose this way. All good. But what I learned in those 10 years, that I invested a lot of time and money in YouTube videos, YouTube reviews, and we do different stuff. And I thought it would be a good idea if I send it out to normal people and they show the other people that you can use the extreme heavy super mega fuzz for normal stuff. Didn't work out. Absolutely not. They don't sound not good on a digital amp, if I'm being honest. A Warlow into a Kemper sounds like shit. Not because of the Kemper, it's the relation that doesn't not work. It does not work. It's okay. It's designed for a big, heavy Marshall amp to rattle your teeth out.
Yeah, it's something different. Yeah.
And most YouTuber, I can't tell them only play this kind of amp, because they say, no, I'm independent and I'm the YouTuber and I do what I want. And I will say, yeah, but it will sound like shit that way. And what they then do is to present it like this, and the pedal sounds like shit. And I have gained nothing, but I spent 1,000 euros. And instead of telling the people, hey, on a Boss Katana, everything sounds like shit. That's why I use this amp for like 10 years and all my YouTube demos. Yeah, maybe get a normal amp. Hot take, I know. 60 cycle hum, of course, has a certain style. Surf rocky, spacey, cool, funny, to Princeton's amps, whatever. They would never put a heavy fuzz pedal into a digital amp because they know that it does not work out. So I thought, well, what I do is now send only to selected people, because I know that their audience are related to my customers, or the same. My customers don't watch Anderton's videos, I guess. Maybe for entertainment. But they don't.
Yeah, I watch it sometimes for entertainment.
Yeah, while working,
I mean,
because
yeah.
I like to be entertained and want to know what's new. Oh, good.
Yeah.
But I would never watch a video and say, oh, that's a Doom fuzz. I need that, because they are not the guys to present that. Easy peasy. And if you are a Doom guy with a digital amp, does not work with the pedals. Never.
It usually doesn't work with the Doom community. If you go, there are like a Doom gig with.
There are a few, because it's still very practical to have like a backpack instead of a full stack. Get that? But I don't want to spend like 4 digits for a video that does not sound good to me. For 4 digits, I can do vacation, and for 200 digits, I can make some Instagram promo and record the video myself. That's what I do for the last 3 years, and my own socials gain so much audience that I don't need YouTube anymore, to be honest. And I ditched the whole bullet of YouTubers getting that much views, because I didn't care a long time anymore.
Yeah, that's very interesting, because you have taken your basically you have taken things in your own hands, and YouTube has also changed, because there was a time about, let's just say 10 years ago, that there were people who were doing this, and there was a lot of hype, there was a lot of interest in doing this, and then at some point, like I remember this when we had that first GetCon, and I remember after GetCon there was a lot of good energy. It was a lot of fun, and everybody wanted to be a YouTuber after that. So everybody made a YouTube channel, and everybody started making videos, and I was the only one who was like, I thought to myself, like, I usually think like this is like, since everybody is doing it, I don't want to do it. I don't want to do it now, just why? Because, but realistically, it is a serious business, and all the people that do these videos, I really have to be and want to be fair that it's a full-time job. A lot of people have invested a lot of their time and patience and money into creating these videos, but it's at some point it kind of moved away, since a lot of big companies now have the channels. A lot of these channels have outgrown other channels, and on the other hand, there are a lot of like newer channels, and also there are a lot of bad channels. And I'm at liberty to say that because that's my subjective opinion. It could be something that some people may not agree with. Like, I don't really care. I'm not here to name names, but the reality is that we do have a lot of mixed content out there. I would say that a lot of content is misleading, and I would say also like what you said that it's a little bit weird because everybody has their own style. I understand that, but you pay money to somebody and they tell you like, listen, I'm the YouTuber. I'm gonna do it the way how I want, because I don't want to be influenced by your opinion. Because now what I really would like everybody who is listening to this to understand is that a lot of YouTubers would say, I'm not influenced by the company. They're not going to tell me how they're going to demo my pedal. But then they, take the money and mispresent the pedal, to say the least.
Yeah.
Because they don't have the capacity to understand the product, which is something that I've been seeing a lot with a lot of YouTubers not really understanding. Like, obviously there are guys who do it well. Obviously there are guys who are authentic. Obviously there are guys who are great. And obviously there are guys who just think that I'm going to plug in a pedal and I know everything. And I'm, going to talk about it where like you don't really know anything about the pedal and,
I met
basically giving us bad information.
Yeah, I have met basically every YouTuber at least once. And I like most of them. I get along with all of them because why not? But I accepted in the last years that my brand, my products, the certain style I want to present them does not fit in everyone's audience. That's totally fine. Nobody likes Star Wars. Totally fine. Totally fine.
What do you think about the future?
In general?
No. Let's not talk in general because it is good. The thing is, like, it's good that we had this podcast and now it's like it's documented. So maybe it's going to be buried in some hard drive sometime. Maybe somebody finds it out.
I wish two things. People. I have to translate first in my head. I wish that people put themselves way more out. Like, this is my opinion, and I like that, and I'm proud of that. Fuck you. But without offending the other one. You don't have to be an asshole to be yourself. On the other part, I wished that people would let other people be themselves without being an asshole, of course.
And a sissy.
I don't want to say that, but you
yeah, I absolutely understand.
You understand.
Everybody's a little bit offended today. A little bit offended.
We'll not say that, but
everything.
And there is, an online discussion why we all like music and guitar-related music and pedals and cool amps. There are certain reasons to use a modeler. There are certain reasons to use a tube amp. We all share the same interests. Why can't be friends?
Oh yeah,
that's all I want to say. And the whole YouTube thing is dying because people are mad because other people.
That's my thumbnail, all right?
Other people living their dream and they're getting mad because Henning Pauli owns 3 houses and a cool car. And they are mad at him because he's funny. He's a cool guy, still. And, and people saying that he's like, or other people are like paid shills or whatever. Of course they are. Boss or whatever company sends them money and says, this is what we want you to say. You can say it how you want, but this are the points that we want to hear. I would do that too. And this are the points that we don't want to hear, like compared to the other product from the other company or whatever, like basic stuff they don't want to talk about. And that's totally fine. That's basically a paid shill. And I want to control that also, because I want to sell my stuff, because I have to pay rent and everything. That's totally normal, totally fine.
But that's not unreasonable. And it's really good, because I've never heard anybody online in any YouTube video actually talk about it this way, the way how you're explaining it now, because you're not saying something unreasonable.
No, my pedals sound shit on digital amps. Surprise! So I would say, so I would say in a YouTube video, please don't use a digital amp if that's okay for you. Would be a no-go for me. Basically, would be a paid shill if he says, yes, okay. And that's fine. I mean, they want to present a good sound. I want to present my product. Okay. Whatever I do it now on my own hands. I learned to do that on my own. As always, I prefer stuff on my own. If it then fails, I can say, okay, it was me and not everybody else. And I learned from those mistakes and make it better anytime. And then we develop something on, like a full running company, So
yeah,
what about the future? People should learn to be themselves. If you want to make fuzz pedals, but there are so many pedal builders out there building fuzz, you can do it too. Learn it. If you want to make,
you can take my course.
Yeah,
you can take my. Here's a sales, but
if you want to be a YouTuber, do it. But there are so many YouTubers, but not you. That's it.
Yeah, I think that is a very nice point.
Yeah,
and I think it's a very good ending for this phenomenal podcast.
It was nice talking to you, and I will join to your live sessions anytime. By the way, I'm a long-term listener to your YouTube channel. I always listen to them while I work. I never skipped a show. I liked every topic, and I see that you have a very solid and friendly and cool community built around you. And as I heard that you do that now full time, my heart jumped a bit, because you are yourself in front of camera. People like that. Never look at your smile. So, nobody would say to you that you're a paid shill, because you're authentic.
Thank you. Thank you. I'm doing my best, and I will continue to do my best. And thank you, Chris, and thank to everyone who's putting up with me, watching my entire process of like getting better at videos, getting better in front of the camera, making them look a little bit better. I really try to improve it, and
you're doing good.
It's an interesting journey.
Just be yourself, man. Just be.
Thank you. Thank you, everybody, for watching. So go and follow Chris. Check his pedals out. Check the Titan out. And subscribe to the channel for more of these podcasts. And look out for Chris. He might join us in a live session just like this, with a camera and a microphone, so we can talk in front of the audience together.
Always, buddy. Okay, bye.
Thank you, man. Bye.